Hey guys, welcome to the podcast. In today's episode, I talk with my friend Ruddin. Ruddin is a civil engineering graduate from the University of Nottingham Malaysia. After working in the property and real estate industry for a period of 2 years, he's now moved on to working in a telco company. A lot of this conversation revolves around that. We talk about what it's like to study something you don't particularly enjoy, and then going on to work in it. Also realizing that you have the ability to change career paths, and you're not necessarily stuck in the path that your degree offered. We talk about his fears in changing careers. We talk about how important company culture is and how you should gauge the feeling of a company before you decide to work there. We talk about interview process and Ruddin gives his tips for that. We talk about trusting in Allah and that He has planned what is best for you. We talk about the process of istikharah and how it should console you. And then throughout we talk a little bit about marriage, we talk about food and the sunnah, and also in the beginning we talk a bit about our processes of learning Arabic. I really enjoyed this episode. I don't get to talk to Ruddin very much, so I appreciate it whenever I do. As always, don't forget to subscribe and share. Without further ado, here's Ruddin Nasir. السلام عليكم يا أخي.
وعليكم السلام، كيف حالك؟
الحمد لله وأنت؟
الحمد لله بخير الحمد لله. How's your Arabic going?
My Arabic is not going very well. I'd like to say that I've been doing it like pretty regularly, but I really haven't, because just so many things have been coming up that it's really hard to keep track of lessons.
I think I've been where you're at in terms of, because you're doing Manida Arabic, right? Manida Arabic. Yeah. So I've been there. It's good if you have a study partner for Arabic.
How did you go through it? I mean, I know Khidr, like, he went all in, right? But I assume he had he had some previous knowledge beforehand, which I assume you shared probably.
No, I mean, like, our American school was the Arabic was like ABC every year, man, just like over and over again, because like, it's like, like in your college there's MPU, right? There's like Bahasa, MPU. Yeah, it's exactly the same thing, but 8 years in a row, so you don't really advance,
At least get the foundations like really strong.
Yeah. Not really. I mean, but I mean, like, I had to go ham also, like, in the sense that because book one is actually very, very frankly, it's super easy. It gets a bit more technical in book two. Alhamdulillah, I'm already like into book three almost. So just need to revise book two, and then gonna step into book three. So it takes a lot of dedication, even if it's like 20 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day. Because, like, I don't know who's your teacher though, like your online teacher.
I followed the one Khidr recommended, the like Texan guy, I think.
Oh, okay. He's big beard and then brown dude, right?
Yeah, the YouTube channel is called the Pillar One, I think.
Yeah. I mean, different teachers have different style, but I just went with the OG, the old guy. His name's Asif, old brother.
Oh,
I don't know if he's a legend, and so he studied with the author of the book himself. So if you notice, the book has no instructions.
Yes.
It's literally pictures, and there's not much instructions, right? So the author of the book himself, like, he devised the book in a way that you have to have a teacher to teach you this book. Mm-hmm. It's not like a normal Arabic book where you can just pick it up and go, because if you do that with this book, you'll be like gone. You'll finish the book and you not know anything,
There's no way to do it. I mean, you can't go through a book like that.
Yeah. So alhamdulillah, the guy, he's a really old guy and he's really slow. But YouTube has this feature now where you can do the playback speed, right?
Yeah.
So me and my wife will go like 1.75.
1.75.
That will be the new normal,
How long have you been at it? I mean,
okay, so like,
sorry,
to be honest,
let me just finish my question. Like, since I guess you came out of the American school in Saudi, and you've got some things down, but like, at which point did you decide, okay, I actually do need to sit down and learn it myself?
Bro, the American school Arabic, like I told you, it's useless. Like, I can converse on a very like street level, like buying things, negotiating, get my way around directions and stuff. But it's not grammatically correct, because Arabic is very technical, right? So at a point in my life, I think 2016, I'm like, okay, I got to learn it properly, you know. So I actually started in like 2016, 2017, you know. But people go through this phase, like people who learn Arabic, you know, they procrastinate, you know, because it's not an urgency for a lot of people, you know.
Yeah.
So I finished book one, and then I took a break for like half a year.
That's
So
not a break, bro.
after half a year break,
That's like a sabbatical.
yeah, yeah. So and then I went to go through it again. I was like, wow, I forgot a lot of stuff, so I had to go relearn it again, and then go to
Yeah.
book two, and then I stopped somewhere in book two halfway, and then I was like, that was like 2018, something like that. Then recently I had to revise everything again. Book one I did it in like 3 days just to revise it, and then book two spent more time with it
Mm.
over a month. So I mean, sometimes you just gotta do it, man, because like you don't want to do it. It's like working out, right? Like some days you don't want to work out, but
Yeah.
you just have to develop that habit, that discipline, you know, that do mentality, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
How do you
so
how do you sort of respond to people that say like I think like I've heard this before where it's like you learn a language through a book and like you have to be careful that reading and writing aren't the only things you can do with that language. So how do you
yeah,
make sure that that's not the case?
I mean, I do agree with that because if you learn any new language, like even if you take like for example back in my school, you had to do the SATs, right? There's
Mm.
the reading, writing, and speaking. I mean, there's not really speaking, but I mean, speaking is an element of a language. You know, like
Yeah.
someone could finish books and then not be able to speak. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so how do you tackle that? Is that you as a learner yourself, you have to kind of be like, okay, I have to put myself in this compromising situations that people are gonna laugh at me when I speak. You know, I'm not the one to be like to preach this because I do have that barrier too sometimes. I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh, should I say it? Should I not? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did that look like to you? Was it just people that spoke Arabic, friends that spoke Arabic, or what?
Yeah. You just have to find friends that you're comfortable with, that they will just fix your grammar kind of thing. And
Mm.
then they will. I mean, it depends. Some people will laugh at you. Some people won't laugh at you. But you know what's the funny thing, right? Like people are just more uh, scared to use Arabic than like other languages. You know, like people will make a fool of themselves to speak English. You know,
Okay.
like
Okay.
they'll make a fool of themselves speaking French. You know,
Yeah.
like I was like like in high school I was quite fluent in French, but I would make a fool of myself. You know, but I don't know something about
Yeah,
yeah.
I guess like once you say it, like I guess it is true for me as well because like when I was learning Spanish, I wouldn't care at all what people thought. But like
Exactly, right?
Arabic is like you for some reason I'm not like I'm much more conscious of it. Like I don't want to be
Yeah,
embarrassed about it.
yeah. I
Um,
feel like that's the burden. I don't know whether Muslims put upon themselves or you know they're just scared. Allah Alam, you know. But it's a phenomenon, you know.
mm,
But the
alham,
people who yeah, but the people who make mistakes, they're the one who learn fastest in language, you know.
mm.
Yeah,
But alhamdulillah, that it is a trap that the usual story where people know so much grammar but they can't even speak a language. It's like what's
yeah,
going on
true.
here? It's like they've kind of
That's
lost
true.
the purpose of a language in general. Um, which is why so
Yeah,
many people say like it's best if you go to a country where you have to immerse yourself in a language. Mm.
yeah.
Anyway, moving on from that, how have you been? I saw that did you start a new job or something?
Yeah, basically, like I was in the property development construction industry. Then, inshallah, like in September, I'm gonna be moving to telecommunications.
Okay.
Okay, so like
Okay.
it's a huge jump, right? Different industries and stuff. But
Yeah.
like till September, like now to September, I found a job at Facebook, so that's exciting.
Okay. Wait. Okay. Let's move back a bit, just for me to get a
Yeah,
context right.
yeah.
So, you finished studying, and what did you study?
Okay, I finished studying 2018 in civil engineering.
Okay.
All right.
So it
Right.
makes sense that you went into
Yeah,
construction after that.
yeah. I was in like construction, property development for over a year, and then after that, felt that it wasn't right for me. So, alhamdulillah, I'm moving to telco um,
Mm.
in September, And if I tell you what role I'm doing there, you will be like, why are you even there? You know, like
Okay.
yeah, inshallah I'm gonna be doing corporate affairs. So
What is okay? What does that look like for
so
Facebook?
no. Facebook is just like a 1 month job. So I got some
Oh,
cash flow in. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
how do you get a 1 month job at Facebook? I didn't even know
So,
they did
so,
stuff
so,
like
so, so,
that.
no, no, they don't do stuff like that, right? I'm totally duking them, right? So basically, here's the story, right? Like, I knew I had a indication that I was gonna get that telco job because it's a good company, one of the biggest telco in Malaysia, right? I had an indication, yeah. So I had to go through 7 interviews for that
What
job.
the heck?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can.
Seven
Yeah,
interviews?
7 interviews for that is insane.
Did you have
Like,
to explain your civil engineering background in each and every
yeah,
interview?
because every single step was like a different personnel. Like all the people I
Okay.
met were like head of technology, head of digital, chief of digital, and then chief corporate affairs, and then like head of communications. Like 7 different, head of procurement. Like everybody was a head of something, right? That's beside the point. It's just like if you want to talk about like interviews, I can give you some interview tips too. But
Okay.
like basically, I had an indication that yeah,
I mean, if they
yeah, I
drop
had
you
an
after
indication that I was gonna
seven
get it,
interviews,
but I got sorry.
if they drop you after 7 interviews, like what the heck is going on?
Yeah, man, it's like yeah, but I mean like I kind of got indications because you in a human interaction you kind of know like okay these people they kind of like they who you are as a person.
Mm,
So alhamdulillah, what happened was I got this the contract role at Facebook
mm,
as a team leader, right?
as a team leader.
Basically, Facebook does this thing where there's 2 types of Facebook employees. One of them is full time Facebook employee. Everything you heard from me.
Sorry, I heard one of them. There
Hello.
are two types of employees. One of them is a team. One of them is a normal employee.
Yeah, one of them is a full-time employee at Facebook, and then Facebook does this thing where you are a contingent employee. So they hire you through a different agency and stuff. So
Okay.
I actually got a role at Facebook as a contingent employee, and the contract is like a year. Okay,
Okay.
so knowing the fact that I started to know that the telco was gonna hit me back, but I had
Yeah.
to sign the contract, the contingent. I just signed it, and then the first day of the job, which was Monday, I already like sent in my notice. Like I gotta quit. So
Okay.
yeah, so that,
All right.
so they have like a month's notice, right?
Yeah.
So they have a month notice, so it works perfectly fine. Like subhanallah, like the day I
Yeah.
end my job at Facebook, the Friday, the next Monday I'll be at the telco, inshallah.
Yeah. So, but
So
I
everything
get.
was like I
I
couldn't plan
guess.
this.
I guess it makes it slightly easier because you're not a full-time employee. It's like you're just a contingent contract.
Yeah, 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 exactly.
But
So
I bet you got some weird looks though in office.
yeah. It's awkward. Like first day you're like sending your notice. Yeah, it's terrible.
What
Don't do
makes
that.
you what makes you not want to see how the job at Facebook turns out? Or what made you choose one over the other?
So basically, I know the job role. Like, basically, I'm a team lead for, like, people who screen people, like using the computers and stuff, the big
Yeah.
laser scanner kind of thing. So I'm like supposed to like lead them and make like the shifts and stuff like that. It's a very
Okay.
like basic. It's a very basic job. That's why I applied for it. Like I just needed something for a month, kind of thing.
Mm.
So
Just
as a contingent worker, in terms of career development, it's not really like wow.
okay.
So so alhamdulillah, like every step of the way, makes the khara, and then everything
Yeah.
turns out fine. So
Yeah.
alhamdulillah, like yeah, I'm just excited to see what's next
At which
after this month.
at which point in your, well, I guess your civil construction, real estate, property development, at which point did you realize that you need, I don't know whether you needed or you wanted to change or like move
Uh,
into a whole different field?
when you realize that for me, I commuted 2 hours to work, and then all you did that day was write 4 emails, and you're like done for the day.
Mm,
That's when you're like, bro, why am I here? Like, because it's
mm,
a management job. So, like, ideally, you want things that stimulate you, right? And that's the thing I want to touch on. Like, fresh grads, when they go into the workforce, they gotta really one thing is research your company. Second thing is like at the interview level, you gotta really scrutinize your interviewer. Like, what are my job roles? Like, one of the questions that I wish I knew, I was advised was like, what does success look like in this role? Like, what are you gonna judge me based upon, kind of thing. And also look at your team and your manager, basically. Um, yeah, and then just ask, like, is it going to be one of those like corporate jobs where you're just another fish?
mm.
Because the first company I got was like, it's like big in the eyes of Malaysia, like big property developer, but once you step into that corporate role, you're just a small fish and you're just another number, kind of thing. So
Mm.
it wasn't exciting. That's how I know, like, bro, I gotta bounce.
Was it was it scary at all in terms of just financial stability? I mean, to make that jump is kind of, it is scary because you're gonna lose out on maybe that sense of
Yeah,
security.
I mean, like that's why you gotta know yourself, and you gotta know like how much you got in the bank. It's all like real stuff. Like nobody's gonna give you handouts, kind of thing. So you
Mm.
gotta you gotta see like how long you can sustain if you want to bounce. And uh, ideally, when you have something secure, you want to bounce. But sometimes like you can't even take it anymore because you
Mm.
just feel like this is a useless job. Like I rather read books for the next month than sit here in the
Mm.
office writing 4 emails a day, and then like 9 hours is gone.
But
But yeah, I mean,
at that
you have to
point
you have to really judge. Yeah.
you were married, right? So you couldn't just think of yourself either.
Yeah, it's true. That's why I told you, like, you gotta really judge. You gotta really judge the situation. Like, financially, I was okay to do that.
Mm.
So I mean, we had some savings, and we had a game plan. So it was definitely okay to do that.
Mm.
At that point. Yeah. So alhamdulillah.
How how long was it since from the moment from like you had the first inkling that maybe I should leave this job, but and then like between that and actually doing it?
It's probably like, I'd say, be honest, like 4 months, like 4 months probably. Yeah.
4 months.
Yeah, 4 months. Like every
And
day
was
you come in, you're like, oh my gosh. What
mm,
am I doing here?
so
Yeah.
but for those 4 months, I guess what you were doing was kind of like planning and like making sure that you can. I mean,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
you weren't
yeah,
set on it, but you definitely wanted to do it. You wanted to leave.
yeah, 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 yeah. You gotta have a game plan. You gotta have it. You gotta have. They call it an exit strategy. Like you
Mm.
can't just be like, yo, I'm gonna leave, kind of thing.
How much
So
of how much of like your ill feelings towards maybe this one management job do you how much of it is could you attribute to that one specific company, but or is it, I mean, it seems like you just jumped out of that field altogether.
no, that's the thing. Like you gotta. I mean, I don't have ill feelings over management jobs. I have a ill feeling about like companies that don't really like. I mean, you have young talent, right, and they don't really utilize them.
Mm.
You make them do like mundane things. You don't really empower them. So like my job, like I had an amazing team, but we were under a department that wasn't that like the department wasn't that great. Let's just say. But my team was amazing. So I would say like that's why I tell people like fresh grads and stuff, like research the company you're going into. just because it has a big name doesn't mean it's the best place for you. You know, like you're better off going into like a startup where your mentorship and your manager is going to be amazing, and it's going to shape your career path. You know, like it's going to help you with your career development and stuff. So that's why I would say like research your company, because I know that there are other people who went into like different property developers. If someone went into like Sunway Construction, or Sunway Group, or someone went into like Gamuda and stuff. I mean, it will be a better situation, you know, in the sense that they really help you. They have good people there that can help you like develop your career further, kind of thing.
During your degree, did you actually enjoy your degree?
No, man.
So blunt.
Bro, no, man. Like, bro, I'm gonna be honest with you. I had this one classmate. I don't know whether you know him, James.
No, sorry.
James. He's a Chinese revert, basically brother. You know?
All right, okay.
So
I know what you're talking about.
he's in my class, right? Like in engineering, right? During exam times when we had, yeah, you know him?
Yeah.
Yeah. So engineering, right? During exam times, like exam week and stuff, we would have like conversations like, bro, don't you think like it would be nice if Allah just took us right now, like we're done? You know? Like I hate it.
Oh.
like you know, we're walking to prayer, right? We're like asking prayer. We're like, bro, in sujood, if Allah took us right now, we'll be satisfied, you know.
That's like, I don't think I've ever
Like,
gotten to
bro,
that
I
level
hate
of
engineering
like,
school so badly.
I don't think I've ever gotten to that level of hating my degree though.
It wasn't the degree, man. It was just the pressure. It's just like engineering school is no joke, man. I mean, if you really want to like score and stuff, you know. But alhamdulillah, it's over, man. Every semester was like your iman was so high, you know, because you're so dependent on Allah that you know, like you can't really just dictate, you know. Yeah. So alhamdulillah.
But I guess like what I'm curious about is like, do you ever? I'm guessing you did. Was it a bachelor's or a master's?
Yeah, I did a bachelor's in engineering. Yeah.
And then, but you don't feel like you've wasted that time either.
I wouldn't say I regret it. Like, I mean, for me, like engineering, if you really don't know what to do in life, and you have to go to university, engineering degree is the best option for you, because literally you can go anywhere with an engineering degree. You know, like people will respect it, and it's high value. And literally, if you want to just jump industries, you can do it easily, because it's a valuable paper, you know. So to be honest with you, I really didn't know like what I'm gonna do right out of uni. I really didn't know like what's my career path kind of thing. I just knew that I need to make it big, and I just knew that I want to be rich, you know. So I didn't really have like, you know, I just wanted to get that mullahs, you know, the money, but I didn't really have a plan going forward. So I just picked up whatever was there. But in hindsight, I would have told myself like, look, you have an engineering degree, you can go to so many different like big companies. Like you can go to like Big Four, doing like consulting, like doing some tech consulting. You could go jump to startups, you know. You don't have to look like, don't narrow yourself, especially in this job market right now. You don't want to like narrow yourself into like, I have to be what I study kind of thing, you know.
I think that's the danger of doing something you don't enjoy. Is like, obviously, engineering is a marketable degree, but so many people get caught up in that, and that, you know, they do it and they hate it, and then they work and they hate it, and like most people get caught up in that, and they don't have the courage to do what you did and actually like, you know, change fields altogether, which was quite interesting. So to come to that a bit, was there, did you basically, how did you decide that you wanted to work in telco instead of civil?
So I didn't really decide. I knew that this telco company, had this sort of like mentorship, like mentorship program where you would be mentored by one of the C-suite level. So I'm going to be reporting to the chief officer for corporate affairs. And I didn't even know that I was going to go into corporate affairs, you know. I thought I was going to go into digital because I did a lot of like strategy work in my first company. So I thought I was going to go into digital, but when I got interviewed by the chief corporate affairs, like me and him clicked, you know, because he's a bookworm, so he reads a lot of stuff and he's like very cultured. So like our personalities really click really well. Like we talk a lot about stuff. So I just picked him. But I didn't really be like, oh, I need to go to Celco, you know. Like I just applied for a company for its culture. Like I look at its culture and its values. And once you investigate further, like you kind of be like, okay, this can be a home for me in terms of a job, you know. Because like what I said, right, initially, like people who do engineering, they then realize like, okay, yeah, it's not for me, right? They should actually look into other fields and be like, what can you learn from your first job that you don't like, and then look into the next company, you know, and look for that, you know. Even if some people might take a pay cut or whatever, you know. So yeah, I didn't know I was going to be in telco. I had another potential at Nestle. You know Nestle, right? The food. Yeah. So I was between the telco. I was also like doing an interview with Nestle for like supply chain management. So you know, like I was open to any field kind of thing. You know. Yeah.
So this was kind of like you're just putting your chips in, I guess, whatever opportunities. I mean, even with something like Nestle, were you like? Did you look into the company culture beforehand, or were you just like, I'm just going to try it?
Nestle was like, actually they market their culture kind of thing, but like you can't really research too much about their culture because they're like they're so tight knit with their everything, you know? So like even when I was in the office, right, like when you walk into corporate offices, right, you can kind of gauge the people there. When I was there, I was like, bro, what are these people like? You know, are they not happy? But they have like, you know, like I can't read them. Like I can't read them. Like I can't read the employees. Like what you mean is like when you walk into some corporate office, you can kind of feel the vibe. And Nestle, I couldn't feel the vibe. Like, you know, and it wasn't even me. Like another guy was with me. He's like, he told me, he's like, bro, I really don't know how these people are, like, you know, like are they happy, are they not, are they angry, are they sad, you know? You can't read their emotions kind of thing, you know. So for me, like I knew that my next company had to have great culture, you know. Like they would invest in their talents, and that was my main priority, you know, going in.
And then did you manage to sample that in the telco company beforehand, or not?
No, I mean like beforehand you can kind of gauge, but once you go like 7 interviews in, this telco company, they really market their culture really well. But once you go to like 7 interviews, right, and you meet their heads, like head of HR, head of tech, head of procurement, you kind of see like they're really walking the talk right now. Like there's empathy, there's human elements to the interview. Basically, most of the interviews, they don't ask no technical questions, you know. They're just asking, I want to know you, you know, like tell me about your family, tell me about your life, tell me about your interests. Like, I would say 4 of the interviews are like that. Because the first 3 interviews were more like, they check on your like problem solving skills and stuff, like, you know, but like the 4 interviews I had with like the heads, they're like no technical stuff. They just talked about you know, and it was awesome, man. It was awesome.
It sounds like that's something that I want to get into as well. Did you get these ideas of, you know, company culture and you know, trying to get a gauge of how people are feeling? Were these ideas that you read from books as well, or how did you come up with it?
Not really. Basically, with every like calamity, any calamity you put in, any calamity you put in life, right? You kind of like reap out like, okay, this is a bad situation right now, but you can learn the good from a bad example, you know. So right out of like my first job, I kind of like, I told myself the next company had to have good culture, you know. So alhamdulillah, that was it. That's what happened. And I also want to touch on some points, right? Like for example, like if someone's like me and they literally don't know what's their career path kind of thing, right? And they have an engineering degree, whatever degree, get into the workforce and you'll always learn something in the workforce. Like for me, after a year of management in the over a year actually at the property developer, I kind of learned that I'm into like business management. Like how do you like run a business properly? What are the processes? How do you allocate the right departments in the right place? So I'm really like I did a few things at the company that really opened my eyes to this. So like if I were to go back 2014, I would have taken a business course. But the fact that I had to go through all that to find an interest, like to find what I really like, it's a blessing in itself.
Yeah.
Because I would not have appreciated if I took a business course. Because you're forced to learn it in a sense.
Yeah.
So
I think this is something that always kind of grapple with. Like the idea of people, and the idea of being, not being exposed to something you're passionate about, or not working in something you're passionate about, especially.
Yeah.
And I think you'll get this, especially for some people who kind of have the impression of themselves as being, having such varied interests and, being capable of doing so much. Is like it's almost a difficulty in trying to find out like what exactly you will do in the future, right? But your advice about actually like going into it and getting into experience, that kind of resonates with me, and I know it's a bit comforting.
So in a sense, like you got to do to know. You understand? Like it's either your first job is amazing and you're like, oh man, I really like what I'm doing right now, or you're gonna be like me and be like, I hate it. I gotta shake. So you got to learn by doing.
If anything, that's a more valuable lesson. Like learning what you don't want rather than what you want.
Exactly. Like some people like for example, I've known people who had atrocious fathers, right? Like their fathers were not there in their childhood. Like the father was like a rapist or something. I actually know people who are like this, like like the father was in jail their whole childhood because the father decided to be a rapist, right? Like he's from the States and stuff, right? So like he turned out to be like a great father, but he looked at that situation, right? So he learned what a bad father is, so he became a good father. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So there's two ways to learn. Like you have a great father that you can learn from, or you look at a situation and you're like, oh man, I learned how not to be a father through him. So you reverse it, kind of thing. So two ways to learn, kind of thing.
Were you ever worried, or did you ever feel anxious about jumping into a different field after having spent 3 years studying something?
Yeah. Obviously, like till now, I kind of just roughly know what I'm going to get myself into. Like, I'm going to tell you like what corporate affairs is about, right? It's like regulatory, so you and then you deal with like privacy, and then you deal with like government affairs, So there's a lot of like legal side to a corporate. So like, bro, I have zero knowledge on this in a sense,
Yeah,
I've never done it. So
you're saying words and like I understand the words, but I have no idea what they actually mean.
Yeah. Exactly. So I'm probably just gonna like spend this month, like just reading up on some stuff, and just like just get myself some background knowledge, and then like just jump into it and see what it is, like. You got to make these bold moves to figure out yourself sometimes, and find your niche,
Yeah, for what it's worth, I think it's pretty impressive that you are willing to jump into a different field. I think a lot of people, like I said, have that kind of difficulty, that fear of what's it called, sunken cost fallacy.
Fear of the unknown or something. Fear of uncertainty.
Sunken cost.
Sunken cost, so like you're in something and then you just feel like if you step out, you kind of like lose out because you're already invested in something, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think that does scare me as well.
Man, you just gotta. Sometimes you just gotta just know yourself, and then like assess your situation and just go for it. You know, like especially if you're like as Muslims, you know, you have like istikharah. You know, like the dua
Mm.
of istikharah is so powerful. You know, like you're asking Allah. You know, you're seeking counsel of Him, and then you're also saying, you know, wa ta'lamu wa la a'lam. You know, and you know and I know not. You know, wa anta
Yeah.
'allamul ghuyub. You know, like and you're the knower of the unseen. You know, and you it goes on like, you know, and if you know that this thing is good for me, you know, then ordain it for me,
Yeah.
make it easy, and then place barakah in it. You know, so like
Yeah.
you can never go wrong with it. You know.
Um,
Yeah. So
yeah.
use that as a tool, you know, like when you're like in that fork road kind of thing, you just got to use that as a tool.
I've
Yeah.
been I've been watching videos on it recently. Um, I can't I can't admit that it's something that I've done very frequently. Um, but inshallah, I have started doing it, and inshallah will continue. But one of the things that I think confuses me is like it feels like I want to make istikhara all the time, and it's
Yeah, yeah,
like, but no,
bro.
but also there are some like opinions where like no, it has to be kind of like a big decision, you know, it can't
No,
be
no, no.
something small.
I mean, I practice it in the sense that if it's like, for example, a big purchase, like I'm about to buy something expensive, you know,
Okay.
I still don't know like should I buy it or not. I still do it, man. Like I go to the surau at the mall and it's like just do it quickly, you know. Because
Okay.
bro, I'm serious. Like you gotta make it like sometimes in a week I'm making like istikhara like 7 times or you know 5 times, you know, like on just mundane things, you know. Because sometimes you
Yeah.
don't know, like yeah.
I mean, some people say it's like, oh yeah, you got to do it for things that worry you. It's like the problem is everything worries me.
Yeah. So you have your answer, you know. Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm saying like sometimes I'm on Shopee, right? Like I was like, man, should I really spend on this, you know, kind of thing. Man, just stop it.
Shopee.
Just say istikhara and go for it, you know.
Uh,
Yeah. Like even like some stuff, you know, like you wanna buy
how
and
do
stuff.
you
You gotta
how do you interpret your istikhara?
okay. I'm gonna tell you how not to interpret it.
Okay.
Like you know, there's a local understanding, like you know, the wrong understanding of like, bro, you'll get a dream, you know, that you know, you'll see in your dream, you know, you'll get this good dream that is gonna tell you what to do. Like I'm not kidding, bro. Wallahi, I've heard it from one of my co-workers at my company. You know, like we're having breakfast and he's telling all these other people this weird stuff. You know, like you know, you just have to wait for that dream. I was like, bro, what if some people don't dream? You know, like, why are you telling them like all this false stuff? You know,
uh,
so how do you interpret it is more like basically you made a decision and then you made the istikhara because the istikhara du'a, you know, Allahumma in kunta ta'lamu hadha amra, like this thing, and then you insert that thing, right, that matter, right.
yeah.
So you made a decision, right? You do it, okay. You just keep doing it until literally the door is closed or you just keep doing it and it's okay, you know. It's just like that.
Mm.
Like I'm gonna tell you like sometimes one time I was supposed to meet this big executive director, right.
Mm-hmm.
And she has canceled on me like once, so the second time I met Iskhara to meet her for something, right. Subhanallah, like on my way there, got cancelled again, you know? Like you just have to do it and then something just happens or something allows it to happen, you know? Like just
Mm.
let Qadr take over kind of thing, you know?
What if um what if you make istikhara, you make a decision. I mean, you make a decision and then you make istikhara, and then then you're carrying on with the decision that you made, but you're still like, and then like uncertainty creeps back because like neither of the doors are closed yet.
Yeah, so you just keep going with your decision, you know?
Okay.
And at the end of the istikhara dua, you will see something about ثم أرضني به, you know, like and let me be pleased with it, you know, because if you say that if the thing is bad for you, you know, distance it from me and distance me from it and grant me good wherever it is, you know, and let me be pleased with whatever outcome is going to be, you know. So, subhanallah, if you implement this in your life, you'll really see it like Allah will give you like, oh, this is the hindsight. Alhamdulillah, this didn't happen, because something,
Mm.
Like, for example, bro, I made istikharah to go to Nottingham, bro. I was supposed to go to UBC, British Columbia, you know?
Bro, that's like on the other side of the world.
Yeah. Basically, like last decision, my dad's like, "What about Nottingham?" Bro. I just gave in my application like literally 1 hour before it was due. Just made istikharah to go for it, and then like I got in. Bought my flight ticket before I even got accepted. Just went for it. Like alhamdulillah, bro.
I
If I were
think
to tell you like if I was at UBC, right, I would probably be a different person right now, because Nottingham is a good environment for Muslims.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
not to say that one is. I mean, obviously, it's difficult to say one is better than the other, but we have to believe that this is that. I guess, like being a Muslim, you have to believe
Yeah,
that the path you are on is better than the path that you are not
yeah,
on.
yeah. Especially, it should give you comfort that you ask Allah for that decision, right? And then you ask Allah for the goodness in it. If it's good, let it happen. If it's bad, keep it away. So you have to find comfort in that concept.
I
Because if
think,
not, you'll be thinking about everything, man. You'll be like overstressed over everything.
yeah, I think Nottingham was everyone's last choice.
Yeah, bro. Yeah,
But alhamdulillah, like, yeah, we say that jokingly, but the blessing in being there is like, you can't even count
yeah,
it.
bro. Yeah, man.
Um,
Yeah, man.
how about, okay, how about this? Like, okay, speaking to me now, right? You as
Yeah,
someone who has worked for coming to 3 years, I think. Um,
yeah. 2 years.
what advice would you give me as someone that will probably start looking for a job, if not next year and then the year after?
Yeah. So one of the things I would say is like have some sort of like end goal to what you're gonna be. Like some people can kind of like design their career path. Like they know they're gonna be a lawyer, they know they want to be a doctor. But if
Yeah.
I think you're like me, like you don't know what the heck you want to be, you know. But maybe your goal is just to be successful, right? So you got like you have to like devise some sort of plan to reach there. But it's just a plan. Whatever happens afterward, it's like you can replan it and look back. So so I would say like have a plan and also look into different scopes just outside your field of engineering. So maybe you can look into like, for example, companies that just don't care what degree you have, like like big four companies like Deloitte,
Mm.
like PwC, like things that, oh, you have a whatever degree, they're going to be like, okay, we're going to train you to be something else kind of thing. Be open to that also, and then also apply in your field. You can also like, for example, like for me, I knew for a very long time I want to be a business owner. So, so everything that just have the intention that everything you're going to step into is technically a business, right? So like for me, I will learn the business aspects of those jobs. So you got to know your interests too, in a sense, like what are your end
Mm.
goals and stuff. And some people like they don't know what to do and they get scared. They just go into further studies. It's a trap, man. Don't do that.
What do you wait? What do you mean it's a trap? Wait a second.
It's a trap. Basically, like for example, if someone knows they're gonna go into academics, right? Like he knows he's gonna do academics. Like he wants to teach and be a lecturer and be a professor. By all means, I would say, okay, that's your only career path is that you have to do your master's and to your PhD kind of thing. But
Okay.
if someone is like literally indecisive, right? And then they just jump into further studies, right? Like do a master's in, for example, like if I did civil, I'm going to do a master's in construction management, or I'm going to do a master's in whatever engineering.
Mm.
It's a trap, man. It's just like you're just delaying yourself from facing reality for another year or two. So I would
Mm.
I would say this is why I say this, because people jump into that and then they finish their masters and then they realize that having a master's and having a degree right now has no difference because you have no job experience. So they feel entitled, like, bro, I should get paid more because I have a master's. Like, bro, you
Yeah.
just wasted 1 year in money. So my take on further studies is that unless you go into academics, you can jump straight into further studies. Or, for example, like you've worked for like 1 or 2, 3 years, you know what you're gonna do. Then you jump into a master's that aid your work. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? Yeah, but
I think
don't jump straight after uni because you don't know what to do, kind of thing. You know, like don't do
yeah.
that. You know, like
It's like you've learned it, but you haven't
yeah,
kind of like tested it out in the
'cause-
real world to actually see whether it's interesting or not.
yeah, yeah. Like for me, if I'm being honest with you, in engineering school, I would probably be like, yeah, I'm gonna work 2 years in the construction industry or whatever, and I'm gonna do my MBA. You know, and I
Yeah.
had that kind of thought process because I've seen a lot of engineers do MBA and then do really well, right? But like
Hmm.
with further research, right? If you further research this case, right? People will only recommend you, like actual people who are sincere, will only recommend you to do an MBA if you're going there for like connections, and you're actually like your job role has things that in an MBA that could benefit you in your job, you know. But you shouldn't
Hmm.
just do an MBA because everybody is doing an MBA. You know, you shouldn't follow that kind of like that sheep mentality. You know,
Hmm. But
like
it sounds like I
I
mean
would. Yeah.
sorry. The
No, no,
conception is
go ahead.
like most people, what I've heard people say is like after you start working, is like the ability to go back into studying is like it's kind of, like people are kind of turned off from that.
Yeah, because those people are not they're not engaging yourself and their minds daily too. You know what I'm saying? Like they're so caught up in their like 9 to 6 work. In Malaysia it's 9 to 6, you know. They're so caught up in their work that after work they just watch Netflix, you know. So their mind has not worked after work, you know. Like but
Oh.
if you're a type of you get what I'm saying, like if you're the type of person that's like 9 to 6, you go to work, you come back from work, you do extracurricular stuff. Like you might take like a different martial arts. You might like tell yourself that I'm going to keep learning something, a language, keep learning, read books. You know, your mind is still working. You know, like post your work. So that kind of like habit, right, will help you if you do a master's degree, but part time. You know, because you're so used to working after work in the sense that work your mind after work. But some people they're
Hmm.
like come home, turn on the TV, have a big dinner, and then sleep, right? Obviously, it's going to be difficult for you to regain your study habits, you know. But if you've been
Yeah.
studying, if you've been making your mind work, it's going to be easy, inshallah, you know.
Do you feel like that option
Yeah,
is open to you? You're open to going back into further studies?
yeah, yeah, definitely. Like if I were to do an MBA or if I were to do another master's degree, it has to be related. It has to like like positively and be related to my job. You know, like it has to benefit my job. Or if I were to do like, it doesn't have to be a master's, you know, like once you get into the real career field, there are certifications that you can take, you know, that you can, for example, someone who's doing investment banking, he doesn't need to do a master's in finance, you know, he does like something like a CFA kind of thing.
Mm.
So in terms of like upskilling, yeah, obviously I'm open for upskilling. Basically, that's the word. You should upskill. You shouldn't just go into things that everybody's doing. You know, you
Yeah.
should know the value of the thing and upskill. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Well, this has actually been quite useful because I've talked to a lot of people, and like the decision between like after a bachelor's doing a master's, or either doing a master's or going into further studies. This has been something I've been thinking about for a while, and I don't think anyone's really put it as bluntly as you have, or like as simply as you have. Where
yeah,
it's like you'll only really know what you want to do after you do it, because then you'll learn whether
yeah,
you like
exactly,
it or you don't like it. Um, and you can't really get that if you do an
exactly.
extra year of study, or maybe even 2 years of 2 years of extra study.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you already know you're gonna be in academics, okay. But if you're just running away from reality, then I don't know what to tell the people. You know, like don't run
Hmm.
away from reality, kind of thing. You know.
Hmm.
And it's not a safety net, by the way. Like it's not what it used to be. It's not like you have a master's degree now it's easier for you to get a job. Basically,
That's what everyone says.
even if you have a master's degree, you're competing with someone who has a degree because you have zero job experience. You know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
guess that's the most
So
important thing.
it's yeah, job experience, man. Because you learn the real stuff.
What tips do you have for interviews?
Oh, interviews, man. I've been to a lot of interviews. Um, you one thing you got to know is you got to research the company well, because some companies are quite petty. They want you to like tell them like what is our mission, what is our value, like, bro, like, come on, but I mean, like, you do have to do extensive research on the company.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I would say, like, be yourself, but also know like what to say and what not to say, and that can only happen once you screwed up so many interviews.
For Do you have any
So
stories in mind when you
let me
say
just tell you
this?
one of the things that yeah, yeah. So one of the things that you should never do is speak bad about your previous employer. That's one thing. That's one thing that you should know. Like, because you're gonna give an impression that even if they employ you and you finish, you might talk bad about their company too. So one thing you should never do is talk back about your previous company that you've interned in, or you worked in. And uh, you gotta, obviously, the basics, dress well, smile, just have a conversation. The first thing is make a human connection. uh, Other than that, different people will have different reactions. Like, don't be too nervous, because at the end of the day, they're humans too. And
Yeah.
what are the things that I like to do is I like to prepare questions that will put them on their spots too. So
For example?
let me just think. Like, for example, like, if I'm meeting like some big corporate guy, like, right, like huge corporate guys, right,
Hmm.
I'll ask them, like, so what are your weaknesses? Like, what are your weaknesses that you can tell
Whoa,
me?
whoa.
Yeah, like, I'll just no, I've asked this. Like, what are your weaknesses? And then, like, you realize that they're human too, and they have weaknesses that you have, but they're just in a position that they can do whatever they want, in a sense, and people will just have to deal with it. But you're nobody, right? So you can't kind of show that your weakness in that sense. But at the end of the day, they're human. So if you can think of questions that would kind of like, they didn't put them in a spot that they're not prepared with, it's good too, because they will crack.
Mm.
That's what I usually strategize with. Uh, 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 don't make it awkward, but just make it hard for them too, basically.
Make it.
Yeah,
It's like
probably.
a battle. It's like a battle almost.
Yeah.
Well,
It's a mind battle, bro. Yeah, bro. I've been to one interview. I'm not gonna tell the name. It's a huge company. Okay, international company. The HR lady, her face does not change to whatever you tell her. Like, she's so trained to have a poker face that her
oh my
face will not
god.
change, no matter how funny your story is, how like emotional your story is. Like, she will not change. So they're really trained in their field, in a sense.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Yeah, imagine sitting there for like an hour and then her face was just like, like, bro, it was so. It's yeah, yeah. It's quite unnatural, but
I'll keep
yeah,
that in mind. Actually, this has been useful.
yeah.
You speak a lot about that you've been reading. What are you reading at the moment? What's
At the
been your
moment,
interest?
at the moment, it's just like articles and stuff. But I've never like I've at the moment because I just moved to my new place, I've never got really like into reading yet. But
Mm.
the last book I've read is actually a good book uh, by Imam Sa'di. It's like 8 ways to pursue happiness. You should look it up. It's just a small little book. Basically,
Mm.
Imam Sa'di, he read a book written by a non-Muslim, right? About like how to achieve happiness, right? And he really loved the content in the book. He really loved it.
Really?
He's like, bro, yeah. He's like, Sa'di was like, bro, this book has stuff that a Muslim already should have. Like husnul dhan ma'Allah, like have good thoughts about Allah and to keep a positive mindset. to not worry about the past, and to always like that kind of mindset. The past is the past, the future, you focus on the future.
Yeah, yeah.
So a Muslim should by default already have this, right? But there's no book at that time that tackles this issue with a Muslim kind of perspective, right? So this book was written by Imam Sa'adi in the 20th century, and it's a beautiful book, man. Obviously, I can't list out all the tips right now, just because although the book says 8, that's actually the original book has like 20 plus tips of how to keep happy, and
What's
he gives it a.
what's resonated with you so far?
Basically, like one of the things that has resonated with me, right? It's like was actually one of the first few points that he made. He was saying that the way to really achieve happiness is to do righteous deeds and to stay away from deeds that are not righteous, because righteous deeds will bring you closer to Allah, and you trying to achieve that closeness to Allah will keep you happy, So whether that's like being good to your neighbors, or smiling at people, or any righteous deeds, like reading Quran and remembering Allah that way, will actually eventually, wouldn't say eventually, will make you a happier person in a sense, because you're fulfilling your purpose of creation, So that's one of the things that like people don't attach that to happiness sometimes. People make it very robotic, like you have to pray, you have to fast, but sometimes they don't attach the spiritual element and the spiritual effect of doing righteous deeds, So he just said that, one of the main points is doing righteous deeds, and that's one point of how to, the main point of how to achieve happiness, and everything else in the other points follows.
I like the way you put it, as in like you are doing what you were made to do.
Yeah.
It's like I've never really thought about it that way. It's like, but I mean, it is obvious, and like if something, people talk about a lot about finding their purpose in purpose in something.
Yeah.
But it's like you as a human, you only have one purpose. It's like وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ.
Yeah. Yeah. So like when you say the ayah, right, except to worship Allah, right? Worshipping Allah is ibadah, the term ibadah. So how does scholar like define the word ibadah? It's any action that pleases Allah, basically. And obviously, actions that are pleasing to Allah has to be legislated from the Quran and the Sunnah. But it's like all the actions that are pleasing to Allah that are good, So you fulfilling your purpose of creation is being in obedience to Allah, and being in obedience to Allah makes you do all these things that sometimes you don't want to do. Like sometimes you don't want to smile at this person's face, because like you just don't like the person. Like, but like the Sunnah forces you to smile at this person's face, kind of thing, So you doing that and you following the legislation fulfills your role, your purpose in this dunya, and also it's an ibadah, and also it'll give you happiness. So it's like a trifecta, Yeah.
But also with that, I mean, you probably would be even happier if you were sincere about smiling to someone.
Yeah. For sure. But sometimes, like ibadah, like some people like give it they simplify it too much, in the sense that ibadah should come naturally, But ibadah, actually, you have to work hard for it. Like sometimes, like people, they don't want to pray with you,
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? They don't want to pray with you because it's sunnah. You don't get sin for not doing it, And it's something. Witr, akhi, is only one rak'ah, man. Like the minimum you have to do is one rak'ah.
Yeah.
You gotta say, like, it's literally one rak'ah, But people still miss out on it, man. I'm not kidding. But like, it's so important that the Prophet never missed out on it, Like even traveling, SubhanAllah.
Yeah.
So, bro, sometimes it's difficult to do ibadah, So it's more like, yes, the sincerity has to come. Maybe you just remind yourself of the rewards of it, but you have to push, man. It has to be pushed until it becomes a habit, Just like anything in good habits that you want to create, habit creation. The first few times you hate it, man. But you can't really say you hate ibadah, but it's difficult, It's difficult to do that step, yeah.
It reminds me of the Imam Sufyan al-Thawri. I think you must have heard this, where he spent the first 20. He said, for 20 years, I did the night prayer.
I think it was 40 years or something.
I thought it was
Sorry.
20,
Different
20,
quotation.
20, 20 or
Different
40.
quotation. Sorry. Go on.
And it was like for the first 20 years, I did the night prayer and I never felt the sweetness of it. It was like, if this great imam did night prayer for 20 years, why don't we just say anything?
Yeah. There's also like a different the different imam that he said. I think it was Sufyan Thawri too, or somebody. He said like he spent 40 years disciplining his nafs,
Yeah.
like nafs,
Yeah.
your desires. Like it doesn't just mean sexual, it means like your desire to be lazy, your desire to not do anything, your desire to eat a lot. He spent 40 years to discipline his nafs, and then that 40 year is when he finally got his nafs to be disciplined. So people realize that like every day is there's up and downs. Like you're gonna fail one day, but the next day you gotta do it. You gotta still keep fighting, kind of thing.
I'm sorry. You reminded me of
Yeah.
another quote of his. I think it was like something about the hardest thing to fight is his nafs. I think that's another thing he said.
Yeah, bro. If you're being honest with yourself, it's difficult, man. Like for me, like I grew up loving food, right?
Yeah.
So like the nuffs to eat a lot, is like it's there. But like as you
Always
learn
there.
and you, yeah, but you have to like like once in your late mid-20s, like for me, right? You have to learn that eating so much will make you so unproductive for the next 2 hours. So you have to not eat so much, kind of thing. So we kind of learn. So subhanAllah, if you reflect upon the deen, like the Prophet ﷺ said, eat just enough so that your backbone can be straight. But if you need to eat more, eat
Yeah.
a third, Like subhanAllah, like a third is actually if you need more, kind of thing. Yeah. So
But
a lot
also at
of
the
things
beginning
in the
at the
Quran and
beginning of
Sunnah.
at the beginning of the hadith was like, at least the one that I know is like, before he said a third, it was the worst of all vessels to fill is your stomach. It's like, if anything, the Sunnah recommends you not to eat much at all.
Yeah. Yeah, man. The Sunnah is like doesn't recommend you to eat too much at all, because it feeds into your laziness, as a Muslim. And also it feeds into your desires to such as like sexual need. That's why like you see some brothers, they can't control it anymore, man, because they eat so much. It feeds into that. And then they're like they need to get married like tonight. Because, I'm serious, bro. This is a reality, bro. I'm telling you. I'm
Yeah.
telling you.
But
Yeah.
talking
So
about food as well, it's interesting because, and another thing is like, okay, the main point is not to eat much at all. But then you look into what the Prophet ﷺ, what he actually ate. It was like, people, I like last year was the first time where I actually began thinking about vegetarianism, like what it like, actually considering it. Not, I mean, like thinking about it, right? Not just dismissing it like completely, but I'm like, all right, let me refer to what the Sunnah is, right? And like, the most, like, they wouldn't eat meat often at all. The most would be like once
yeah.
a month or once every 2 months.
Yeah, I mean, like, meat was a scarcity, But like, touching on this topic, right? People go to extremes, Like they say, now we have to be vegan, Like red meat is bad,
Yeah.
That's
But that
one
goes,
extreme, right? Another
yeah,
extreme
that,
is like, oh, we can eat what, yeah.
yeah.
Another extreme is just say like, oh, we can eat whatever we want, But there is moderation. Like for example, there's hadith that says, the meat of the cow is poison and its milk is medicine. So what's mentioned here is that it's not that the meat is haram. That eating too much meat of like beef is not good for your health. Basically, it's saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
just eat like moderate amounts. Like have some fish some days. Vegetables. It's a healthy diet, man. Don't eat like steak 3 times a day, kind of thing.
Oof. Speaking of which, I'm gonna eat steak tomorrow. It's gonna be good. I can't remember the last time I ate steak. It was like maybe like 3 or 4 months ago. I'm looking forward to it, man. But yeah, alhamdulillah. And
So,
also like Umar radiallahu anhu,
yeah.
another one of his sayings is
Alhamdulillah.
beware, and
So
sorry, can you hear me? Yeah, one of Umar's saying was what is it? The flesh of beware the flesh of cattle. It is like wine or something, in terms of the way you can get addicted to it.
Yeah, Allah alam, but yeah, I mean, okay, someday, like I would say like when I was like 16 to 20, man, I could eat like a monster, bro. Like I used to eat like literally breakfast. I would have like a 400-gram steak, you know, like seriously, it was just like my metabolism and my appetite was like way more when I was a bit younger. But now it kind of toned down. Like I can have like 2 dates and I could eat like at 4 p.m. kind of thing.
Yeah.
So you learn as you grow, like how your metabolism kind of like reacts to stuff.
Yeah.
But
I've been slowly phasing out rice, slowly just reducing it, so I don't have to eat it all the time.
Bro, you're so skinny already, man. Why are you doing this to yourself?
Bro, I'm not doing it for weight loss. I'm doing it for what's the best diet to have.
I see. I mean, yeah. I mean, you can. I mean, yeah. You can research on what it is. I'm not island. But definitely, balanced diet is great.
All right. Khair, inshallah.
Fish is great.
Can you hear me? I think it's probably a good point for us to round off the discussion.
You're lagging right now.
Hello. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I think it's probably a good point for us to round up this discussion. It's been really nice just to hear your experiences working, and then talking about food as well, and talking about Arabic. It's been really nice, especially for someone that has been working for a few years. It's left me with a bunch to think about.
Definitely. Hopefully it's beneficial, to you and to whoever watches this, that they're conflicted with what they need to do in life.
Yeah.
In terms of career. Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, right? Did you want to get working soon because you wanted to get married?
The internet's bugging. Yeah, obviously, man. Like I want to get married. I want to get. I mean that's why it feeds into like what your game plan is, Like in reality, no money,
Sorry, say that again. You cut out.
I say in reality, like no money, no wife, because it's a huge aspect of like being a husband and being able to provide and stuff like that.
No wife, no life.
Is in your no wife, no life, So if that is in your, that's why I say you got to devise a plan. Some people like they know themselves, right? But I think they're lying to themselves. Like brothers would say, like I'm gonna get married at 30. Like, bruh, why are you lying? You know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
But some people they want to put that off later, right? But if marriage is like an early target for you, you have to get a job ASAP, But then that's only a part of the equation, Like if you have a bigger goal than that, then you have to kind of work out, But definitely, yeah.
All right, bro. Khair. It's been really nice hearing from you, to be honest. Thank you for showing up on such short notice. I apologize for the immediacy, but inshallah, I pray that Allah keeps you and your family in good health and increases you in all that is good.
I mean, and you too, bro.
Yalla.
Hopefully you can get married ASAP.
That's the plan. Yalla. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah khair.